I work with this council every day. If you would bear with us and give us just about 2 more minutes, I think there were a couple of people outside we'd like to get here to sit down before we start, but we should commence in about 2 minutes.
Much better? Great. Well, we're going to start our program, and this is a St. Mary's public session for voting alternatives. And first of all, thank you all for coming on a Thursday evening. The purpose of this meeting is, as you can see from the agenda, if you don't have one, we'll make sure that we pass one out to you. But this is the opportunity for the City Council that's up here to listen to the St. Mary's citizens share opinions concerning at-large voting. And we are here as council to listen, and we will talk shortly about the structure of this meeting. But before we start that, we have a prayer, and then we'd like to do the pledge. So, Linda?
Before I say my actual invocation, I'd like to have you listen to 2 very short quotes from 2 of our greatest presidents. Abraham Lincoln said, "Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters." The second is also wise but serious, from Franklin D. Roosevelt. "Democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education." Please bow your heads. Gracious Heavenly Father, we ask your guidance and support as we, the citizens of St. Mary's, deliberate, explore, and learn about a proposed reorganization of our voting system. Help us to listen to each other, to appreciate each other, and to learn from each other. Bring out our citizens to understand and participate in this process. Do not allow us to turn our backs on the issue and then be forced to sit on our blisters, as President Lincoln described. Please make the final goal of these meetings be the education of our citizens, so that our choices in the end will reflect the wisdom that President Roosevelt refers to. We thank you for all the blessings of this life. Make us ever mindful of the needs of others. In thy holy name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for allowing us to work through this first public session. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve, and we hopefully will adjust as we find the things that we need to do. Our next setup will probably be a little bit more informal and a lot more intimate, and so our apologies for sitting up here on the stage, but at this point in time I think it works well for what we need to accomplish. The meeting format and the purpose of the meeting we've discussed earlier, and the time allotment, thanks to Mr. Principal Wooden, we have until 7:30, and I will introduce shortly our facilitator, but we have a program that hopefully will allow everyone to be able to speak. First of all, the role of citizens is the reason why we're here, and we're going to provide you the opportunity to come to the podium and speak and share your opinions and your thoughts with us on voting methods. The facilitator is Mr. Jim Goodman. Jim, you want to raise your hand or stand so that people can see you. And so Jim will be facilitating the meeting during the whole evening, and I appreciate what you've volunteered to do. And then, of course, we have the council here. Ms. Stasnis apologizes, and she could not be here tonight. The guidelines that we're going to start out discussing here shortly begins with this opportunity, and it's for St. Mary's citizens coming up and are being welcome to speak at the podium. That's the most important thing. We are here to hear your opinion. We'd like you to step up to the podium and then provide your name and address. And from this point on, I think I'd like Jim to get up and go. It sounds like you're going to need that mic also, Jim, and finish off the process for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, distinguished members of the council, guests, Mr. Spencer, and most importantly, citizens of St. Mary's, most importantly. As the mayor emphasized, this is a listening opportunity, and I had a discussion with him in preparation for this meeting, and he reiterated and stressed, louder? Okay. Let me know if you change your mind. If you get tired of hearing me, then say, lower. Thank you for that input. I appreciate that. Okay, so the mayor indicated to me that he had given instruction to the council that they were to listen tonight. This is not to be confused with a debate-type forum that we've recently experienced. This is your opportunity to speak. It is their opportunity to listen, and unless called upon to express an opinion, they, and Mr. Spencer has indicated the same for him, are resources to maybe clarify an issue on the fly as we go. Here's our covenant with you, and my covenant personally, because I wouldn't be involved in this if I didn't have full faith in the mayor's word and the council's integrity to allow you to have this opportunity. You will have the opportunity to come to this microphone. You will please state your name and address. It's important that only St. Mary's voting citizens or St. Mary's citizens who may be voters have a say in this matter. This affects us. It is not for outsiders. State your comments succinctly. You will have 3 minutes to do this. To give you feedback, Ms. Bailey will hold up a 30-second card, and if you will, Ms. Bailey, hold that up. That's not how long you've been talking. It doesn't mean you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's how much time you have left. And then at the end of your time, she's going to hold that card up. Now you may be wondering what's going to happen if you keep going. There is no bouncer here tonight, but I'm going to tell you this. That's a 33-year school veteran. She can give you a look. Did anybody have her for a teacher, or your children have her for a teacher? Can I get a witness? Yes, sir? All right, sir. Mr. Jones, I got a witness. Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, so it's going to be very comfortable for you. We're not going to be strong-arming you. But please do your 3-minute thing. Now, if we have time left over and you want to make an additional comment, we will maybe restrict that to 1 or 2 minutes, but we'll go, and we have to be out of here by 7:30. The city manager has indicated something about a beverage that's awaiting at 7:30. I'm sorry, that's too much information. All right, so we are going to capture everything you want to say. If you're shy about getting up to this microphone, we're going to have a notepad up here. We're going to make sure that you are heard, and you can corral one of the council members. You can give your question to me. I will take it down faithfully and transmit it to the council, so you will be heard. Please take your cell phone right now and set it on stun, okay? Stun works. We don't want to hear your rendition of the marimba and dance to it. That's not why we're here tonight. One final thing that I would like to say about the tone of this meeting, and I'm very serious about this. A lot of sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, husbands and wives have given all for democracy. And only a few miles from this very place, people are on the line right now to defend this precious freedom. Let's respect that. Let's have a democratic process in which we hear each other, we listen with open minds, we consider all the facts, and let that be our guiding principle tonight, that blood has been shed. And for those who've shed that blood, we're extremely grateful. If you've had a loss, I can't express to you my personal gratefulness for that you've experienced. As we go along, we will be available to you. The restrooms are through those doors to the back. The water fountain is back there. It's handicapped accessible up through that ramp. We hope you're comfortable tonight. Please ease up here and speak to us if there's anything that we can do for you. And with that, I think that it's time for me to turn this program over to handouts. Please pick up these handouts announcing future meetings on the way out. And you're not required to sign in, but it's a good idea that we can get a count for people and understand how many people we did have here. At this point, Mr. Tom Canning is going to speak for 15 minutes or less, please, about nonpartisan issues in regards to voting procedures. And with that, unless Mr. Mayor or members of the council, is there anything else that I've not done?
Sir, thank you.
All right, Mr. Canning, thank you, sir.
That last comment was definitely pointed. For those of you that know me, and this will be the only time I speak off script.
It's a brutal crowd, Tom. They're not going to let you get away with not being heard.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I do have a talent for squeezing 5 minutes of information into an hour, so please bear with me while I stay on script. I know it gets a little tedious when I'm reading from a script, but let me assure you it's in your best interest. Good afternoon, my name is Tom Canning. I live at 410 Point Peter Place in St. Mary's, Georgia. On behalf of our team of St. Mary's registered voters, thank you for this time and privilege to kick off this public discussion. Please note that in addition to the proposed district map mounted on an easel in the front of the room, there is a set of slides for your reference. Also, this presentation along with the supporting script are available on our team's website, St. Mary's Votes. For those in the audience that are hearing me for the first time, our team is comprised of citizens that share an interest in helping to improve voter turnout in our community. In addition to our Get Out the Vote activities, we have been studying the subject of how we in St. Mary's elect our city council and the effectiveness of at-large representation. Our original plan was to present our findings after the first of the year, providing our observations and analysis to the public via the media, public meetings, and other methods of communications. However, 4 weeks ago, immediately before a general election, our State House representative delivered a proposed district map for the city of St. Mary's. As a result, our team adjusted our schedule and is presenting today to offer our analysis of the proposed districts and our findings in the form of pros and cons for electing our city council representatives in an at-large, district, and hybrid or combination system. As a team, we are not here to sponsor a single or limited position on these questions. Our only purpose is to provide best available information to stimulate discussion and to have this audience consider all options prior to deciding whether a change is needed and what that change should be. Before I continue, it is important that we all understand that the question we are facing today cannot go unanswered. This question will not be delayed or discarded by government oversight and judicial actions. No pre-clearance is required. As a result of the United States Supreme Court decision made in 2013, the U.S. Justice Department, the Attorney General of Georgia, and the Georgia Secretary of State are no longer required to rule on proposed changes to districting, annexations, and forms of government. As clearly stated by Representative Spencer and noted in this slide, with or without City Council concurrence, Spencer can introduce the legislation to change the way we in St. Mary's elect our City Council members. So to be clear, what you say today and what you communicate during the next few weeks may be the only opportunity you have to influence the type of city government you want in St. Mary's for the foreseeable future. So from our team, we hope the first question you ask yourself is, do we need change? Do we need to change how we elect our city council? Do our city council representatives need to change how they keep in touch with the public, how they listen, and how they address our concerns and issues? Do we as citizens need to change how we participate in our city government and decisions? Or are we looking for a different type of change? As a baseline of information, this slide identifies the geographic boundaries of the 5 voting precincts applicable to the city of St. Mary's. Some of these slides are presented to you because of questions that are asked during the last few weeks. And I've noted that not everyone is familiar with existing precincts and other methods that dictate where you vote. Our 6 council members represent the entire city. The post designations have no bearing on assigned precincts, residency, or jurisdiction. Each of the city council members holds office for 4 years, and usually half the council members are up for election after every 2 years. This slide displays the geographic boundaries of the 6 proposed City of St. Mary's districts. If the city makes a change from at-large to 6 districts, the future candidates for each district must live within the geographic boundaries of that district, and voters may only vote for the candidates from their district. I know this slide is difficult, if impossible, to read from where you're at. Most of you should have a copy of this if you'd like. In this slide, the left side of the table provides the current number of council members and their residency by precinct, and the number of registered voters by precinct using 2014 Secretary of State provided data. Since the council members at large are since the council members are at large and individual precinct numbers carry no independent weight, there is little to no significance to this breakout. It simply provides existing conditions. As a side note, in the voter turnout column, you see that more than 10,000 registered voters in St. Mary's, of more than 10,000 registered voters in St. Mary's, only 3,300 people voted in this past election. This is less than 4 out of 10 of St. Mary's registered voters. So we had 3,354 people vote out of over 10,000 registered voters. On the right side of this table, some of the consequences of districts are noted. First, registered voters assigned to a specific precinct will be from 2 to 4 different districts. Now, this may or may not be significant to you right now. Hopefully, as you think about it, you'll understand that if we move forward with the districts as they're provided right now, and if we keep the precincts as they stand right now, someone in a specific precinct, 2 families in a specific precinct, may be in 2, 3, or 4 different districts. Obviously, if there's 2 families, they'd be in 2 districts. Therefore, the president will, first registered voters assigned to a specific precinct will be from 2 to 4 city districts. Therefore, the precinct will contend with at least 2 to 4 different ballots for each election, adding to the challenge faced by the register and probate judge who is responsible for the election. So if you currently vote in precinct 5 as an example, and I may be using wrong examples, and you're in one district, you're going to get a ballot different from someone else in precinct 5 in another district. Just an administrative concern. Second, even though each proposed district has a near equal population, the number of registered voters varies from 11 to 20% of the city's total registered voters. Please note that these districts, and I'll show this again, are divided up equally. However, when you look at the number of registered voters, there's a significant difference from one district to another. The significance of these differences is evident in subsequent slides, figures, and diagrams. And third, in proposed District 2, one of the 2 current council members will not be able to serve after their current term limit. And in proposed District 6, 2 of the 3 council members will not be able to serve after their respective limits. And hopefully that's obvious to you. What it means is that the most recently elected council member will continue on through the 4-year period, but those council members whose whose term expires in 2 years from now, their district will already be filled and they won't be able to run. Not suggesting that's good news or bad news, I'm simply presenting that as a consequence, as a fact. This slide simply displays the race and ethnic balance in our city. These are factors required to be considered while developing reapportionment plans. This slide clearly shows that the proposed districts each have a near equal population, a requirement in defining districts. In addition, this slide shows that only one of 6 proposed districts has a near equal racial balance. Obviously, the other 5 districts are far off the mark. On the right side of this slide, the bar graph displays measurable differences in the number of registered voters in each proposed district. These differences are not calculated nor recognized when the Office of Reapportionment prepares district maps. However, these differences are essential factors when considering redistricting. As you can see, District number 5 has a markedly lower number of registered voters compared to the other proposed districts. Taking this analysis to the next level, in this slide, measuring only active voters. Up till now, we've been talking about the total count of registered voters. And active voters are those that, during the last presidential election since on, have actually voted. So, and there's a difference of 2,500. There are 2,500 inactive voters in that total number of 10,800. So taking this analysis to the next level, in this slide, measuring only active voters, the race and ethnic balance continues. There is no shift in group voting power. The imbalance of registered voters suggests that equal population in districts does not result in equal voter power. From this slide forward, we are going to review the basic aspects of different voting and governing systems, as well as the pros and cons of these systems. As shown in this slide, the at-large system we currently have in St. Mary's is similar to what other smaller cities in Georgia use to govern. Overall, in Georgia, 73%, or 390 of the 536 Georgia cities, elect their city representatives at large. Specific to St. Mary's, we have 6 posts with 1 council member per post. There is no jurisdiction or authority limits based on the post designation. The only value of a post is that candidates select a post to choose who they run against. The winner must receive a simple majority of votes, which is 50% plus 1. If there are more than 2 candidates for the open seat or post, it is possible that a runoff may be required. This slide displays some pros and cons of the at-large with post method of elections. This system allows for the largest possible pool of candidates from our city. However, you may find that due to post alignments, you can only choose one of several preferred candidates running for the same post. On the other hand, you may determine that all of the candidates running for one post lack the credentials you desire in a council member, in a council person. Regardless, one will win. In this slide, it shows that at-large system without post may reduce negative campaigning. However, there is an increased chance to the need of runoff elections. Moving on to the subject of districts. Districts are more common in cities with large populations. In Georgia, 20%, or 108, of the 536 Georgia cities elect their city representatives by district. A district-specific council member is more easily recognized as an ombudsman, and campaigns can be less expensive for the candidate. However, districts limit the candidate pool and limits the voter to electing only one council member out of 6. Also, a district mentality in the council and with the voters can lead to fragmented priorities and delayed actions required for good city management. There are some cities that use the combination of at-large and district council members. However, this is the least common in Georgia. Only 7%, or 38 of the 536 Georgia cities, elect a council by this combination methodology. As suggested in this slide, there is no limit to the combination of district and at-large representation. In 1996, St. Mary's adopted a system that had 1 district council member and 5 at-large council members. Once the citizens of St. Mary's experienced the system, they immediately chose to return to the at-large system that we have today. In this combination system, the pros and cons and limits of both components of the election and governing system exist. Some see the combination system as a compromise. Others see this mix as confusing, divisive, and the worst of both worlds, with no value to minority or other groups. So in summary, we have reviewed and made comparisons of population and voter data, including the balance, imbalance, and distribution of registered voters. We have reviewed and made comparisons on the precinct and proposed district boundaries and maps. And we reviewed the consequences on current council members and the limits placed on them to run in the future. We have asked the question, is there a need for change, and what type of change is needed? We have reviewed our current process of electing our city council members at large with post designations, as well as at large without posts. We have briefly discussed districts, the fact that only 1 out of 5 Georgia cities use this system, and we have reviewed some of the pros and cons of the district system. And lastly, we have briefly presented alternatives to the at-large and proposed district system, including the pros and cons. Now we need to recognize that this question of change will not disappear due to time or our neglect. The proposal has been made. The question has been asked. The train is on the track. Now, before the end of this year, before this proposal can be submitted as a House bill and voted on after the first of the year, we, the citizens of St. Mary's, need to discuss and make a decision. As citizens of St. Mary's today and during the next few weeks, we need to inform our elected officials on whether we need and are ready to change in how we elect our city council, either by the same or a modified at-large system, by districts, or by a combination of the two. If we do not take this question and action in hand, the decision may be made by those who do not live and work in our city. And I respectfully suggest that this is not acceptable. Thank you for the time and attention, your time and attention. On this final slide, please note that our team's website is stmarysvotes.weebly.com. This site provides a way to ask questions and to join our team. In addition to the paper copy in the front, you'll be able to access this presentation and this, at the website. Also, please note the figure on the right, and I know you can't read it, displays the various elements of our team's process to achieve our stated goals, which is to improve voter participation and improve representation. Thank you for allowing our team to present to you today.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom, for staying as close to 15 minutes as you did. You did wonderfully. You know, if we measure in seconds, maybe a little bit more, but in minutes, you're very close. No time left. No. Please sit down. Thank you. Representative Jason Spencer, you now have 5 minutes to make a presentation. And as you can see, we're not going to be really mean about that. Please welcome to the meeting.
Well, thank you. This is a great turnout for such an important issue. When I took office back in 2011, the City of St. Mary's was going through a plurality versus majority issue. And the map that you see before you is a map that has that situation in mind. Design when citizens came to me really this year and asked about a possible proposal. Over the last 4 years now, there's sort of been this discussion, rumblings, if you will, within the citizenry about the possibility of voting districts. And there's never really been a really good time to sort of bring this proposal publicly, because I felt like there wasn't enough discussion being had. Today is an exception, so I'm happy to see a lot of people out here to discuss this important issue. I guess because of the recent city elections, it somewhat became a campaign issue, and I felt the obligation to bring it forward. I've had this map or semblance thereof probably ready for about 2 years, and when it was time to bring it to the public, when the appetite was appropriate, back a couple years ago, I just didn't seem to do that. So now I've brought this forward, and it has stimulated some very interesting discussion. This is an important issue, but voting districts is not a foreign concept. Voting districts are applied at the congressional level, the federal level, the state level. Your county commission is in 5 districts. Your school board locally is in 5 districts. So this is not a foreign concept. This is a concept that is very familiar to people. This current map that you see is based on population. Mr. Canning had a great presentation and laid out a lot of information, useful information. But what he said was that it wasn't somewhat geared to, implied anyway, somewhat geared to bring out more registered voters. And that's not what this map is based on. The map is actually based on population. The 2010 census, that's the latest information that we have about the City of St. Mary's population. Every other districting format that's actually applied is based on the 2010 census. So that's why we have reapportionment every 10 years at the congressional and state level and at the county and school board level. Is every 10 years you have to reassess, do the population, and then do realignment. And what's the reason for that? The reason for that is to ensure that voters have a vote. It's what we call the one person, one vote principle. And that means that one person's vote should be as equally weighted as somebody else's vote on a given governing body, like a city council or a state legislature or a county commission. So that's the point of districts. The problem that some areas have, that's been identified and it's been brought to me as a representative of the City of St. Mary's, is people feel like they don't have their voice heard. And that's always been the rumblings that I've heard as a representative about this issue. Currently, they feel like those that support the proposal feels like that one person's vote may be actually a power of 3 versus somebody else's vote may be a power of 1 on council. So that is, to me, a glaring inequity. I think it doesn't uphold the traditional American principle of one person, one vote. I think the district solves that issue. This is only a proposal. It was only to provide discussion like we're having here, and a very important discussion. But I wanted to sort of go through the numbers that Mr. Canning had already touched on and alluded to. If any of you had seen the map proposal that was online, I think the City of St. Mary's put that online. These are the voting statistics, the population statistics that goes into each district. So this map was created by the Office of Congressional Reapportionment in Atlanta. They assist us. They're very, very good at what they do. And they assist members of the General Assembly and the public on matters like this. So if you look at this statistical breakdown, this is based on population. Again, one person, one vote, and that's the reason why the districts are set up that way, and that's essentially applied to the same governing bodies like state legislatures and the feds and the county commission and school board. So this is nothing foreign. If you look at the VAP number, that is what we call that's the active voting population, okay? So each district, if you look at the standard deviation, it's within a percentage point, most of them less than 1. Yes, they're all less than 1, or 1 just a little bit over 1. Actually, 2 of them are. The courts have ruled in the past regarding districts is that the sort of their rule of thumb is that 5% standard deviation is sort of the standard, either above or below in terms of population. So while some registered voters, it may be smaller in terms of the active registered voters in some district, this map is solely based on the population of the city of St. Mary's. That's why maybe one district looks a little smaller geographically, because there's a higher density of population in that region. So also the minority vote is somewhat an issue that was brought before me. The city of St. Mary's is 17% African American. So it's not a black city. I mean, that's the stats, that's the proof in the pudding. But in order to increase the chances of a minority to get on council, to have their viewpoint represented, the way I created this map is to try to put as many registered voters of a minority population as possible in a district. That way you can preserve what they call continuity and compactness. Those are things the courts look at when they look at voting districts. So the best I could come up with was about 39% African American population in that one voting district in District 5. Does that necessarily mean an African American will get elected in that district? No. All it means is that it increases its chances for the opportunity for a minority to be elected. We have 6 members on council. 1/6 of the population of the city of St. Mary's is African American, and you don't have that right now on council. You don't have that kind of diversity. So that's sort of the map in a nutshell. This map was not created with regards to incumbency. That's always a political decision that has to be made as well when you create district maps like this. But if you look at the chart that I gave you regarding the breakdown of this current proposal, it sort of keeps in, we have to marry this, if this proposal were to move forward, you have to marry it with the current local legislation that was presented back in 2011 when we went from a plurality system to a majority system. So in sort of to make the districts coincide with the current post, that's what this proposal does. And the way I've sort of written this proposal is as the 3-year term sort of goes out, which we just did for this 2014 cycle, the same will happen in 2016. So I won't bore you with all the details. You can kind of look at that chart. It's kind of a busy chart, but that's sort of how I created the map. You have to take into account the legislation that was actually passed in 2011 in order for this to work properly. So that's really my take on the map. It's really to provide you all some information as to why it was created and what the genesis of it is. So I thank you. I don't really think I need the whole 5 minutes, but I think that's all I've got.
Well, I think you did.
All right, thank you.
All right, we're moving into, thank you, Representative Spencer. We're moving into the portion of the evening now. Please remember, step up to the podium, state your name and address. We want you to stay on the subject, which is district voting. No other issues. It's not a question and answer session for the council, except that they may want to elucidate an issue, and Mayor Morrissey will moderate that portion of it. So first come, first served.
I've got it, thank you. Good evening. Whoa, it's taped. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Representative Spencer, former City Councilman Sidney Howell, ladies and gentlemen, fellow citizens. For those of you who don't know, which is highly unlikely, my name is Jay Marino. I live at 501 Victoria Circle. I moved here from Savannah in August of 1993, and I've been actively observing and participating in politics in this city ever since. The first thing I want to address is the first speaker made reference to the fabled minority voting district of 1996, and the implication was that we tried it once and didn't like it. Not only was I here at that time, I'm the only surviving plaintiff of the two plaintiffs that 48 hours after that election went to Superior Court and had it overturned as the bogus farce that it was. So I'm here to tell you that that is a complete red herring and reflects no indication as to whether or not we favor voting by district in this community. What actually happened, and Mr. Gordon Jackson can confirm this, as can Artie and as can Sidney over here, that was a scam done by Mayor Jerry Brandon to gerrymander, ironically, a white candidate who was set to kick his behind in the mayoral election in such a way that he couldn't possibly win. It was a total farce, and I went to court and overturned it. The other plaintiff was the late Councilman Raymond Dowell Sr., and that's a true story, and anybody can verify that. My second point is that reference was made to the fact that the disparity in the number of registered voters and active voters in the proposed districts is a big deal. It's not. That's another total red herring. Think about it. Somebody is going to be elected in that district, so the number of voters in the district is totally irrelevant. The only relevance that it has to anything is the fact that under that system we would undoubtedly elect the mayor at large. In that case, it would matter. But as far as electing the representative from the specific district, the number of voters is totally irrelevant. Now, I could speak all night to this, but I'm going to limit myself to one thing because I'm sure Artie will cover the other things. There's been a suggestion made that maybe we ought to go with a hybrid system that would involve electing the mayor at large, electing 3 people by district, and electing the other 3 councilmen at large. Sounds very sophisticated, sounds wonderful. Let's parse what would really happen there. Okay, the mayor would be elected at large. 9 times out of 10, if not higher, the simple fact is...
Mr. Marino?
Yes. Okay, sorry. The mayor would be from Osprey Cove. The person in the district of Osprey Cove would be from Osprey Cove. Easily 2 of the 3 at large would be from Osprey Cove. You'd have only 2 surefire non-Osprey Cove people be elected. So it sounds good, the sound and the fury, but in essence, absolutely nothing would change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Kearns, 902 Ann Street, St. Mary's, Georgia. And forgive me for reading this, it's just faster that way. Districts might make some sense in much larger communities, but for small cities such as St. Mary's, the at-large system is the only way to facilitate communication, decrease special interest agendas, and combat divisiveness. We are all too familiar with the ridiculous Osprey versus downtown versus others disease that poisons this town. And in my opinion, district voting would surely be the final blow that kills the patient. Mr. Gant ran unopposed for post 3, whereas I'm very happy for him. That fact alone should ring the warning bells in terms of the shallow pool of willing candidates. The election of only one council person from a district may also preclude other well-qualified citizens from consideration because they happen to reside in the same district. Under district systems, each council member is accountable to only a fraction of the municipal electorate, and the entire body of voters is denied the opportunity to exercise effective control over the council as a whole. Should district voting be implemented, we will have a House that is permanently and hopelessly divided, the possibility of districts that have no representation at all, a populace that can't see the community forest for the geographic trees, and increased animosity and apathy, as in, not our district, not our problem. I find this issue particularly disturbing in light of the challenges that face St. Mary's. It will require a cohesive effort to protect and sustain our historic treasures, our downtown zone, while promoting the development and prosperity of other areas. In an email that he sent to a recent former candidate for City Council, Mr. Spencer stated, "I was never under the impression that any of the incumbents would give up their power. You have to take it from them." I find that statement highly disturbing and hope that the power to shape our own future is not taken from the people of St. Mary's. With this one decision, we stand at the crossroads between success and failure. I just hope that we choose wisely.
Thank you.
Larry White, 102 Sylvia's Court, St. Mary's. I apologize, I'm a relative newcomer to the city of St. Mary's. Some people think because I'm a newcomer, we're not interested in the politics, we don't know what's going on. I've lived there a long time.
Larry, can you pull the microphone a little closer to you? Thank you.
We moved here about 5.5 years ago. We moved from a city in South Carolina that had districts. And I can tell you from personal experience that unless you can get a hold of the representative from your district, none of the other representatives on the city council would even talk to me. Okay. I have any city council member in this city and get not an answer that I liked, but at least an answer that I could get from you. Districts would be great if we were a large city and a non-military city. I understand that districts should be made on population only, but because we are a military city and our largest employer is the United States Navy, a lot of the sailors are not even residents of the city of St. Mary's. So therefore they're not eligible to vote in the city of St. Mary's. We should keep it to the point where only those citizens that can vote should vote. And I must say that I'm pleased, I know I'm moving off topic, but I'm pleased to see a number of people show up at tonight's meeting. If only we could get these number of people to show up at every city council meeting, to be interested in city government on a daily basis, or on a monthly basis, it will be much better for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Mr. Mayor, Council, Representative Spencer. My name is Mike Rich. I live at 152 Fairways Edge Drive. Prior to moving here 7 years ago, I served 12 years in the office of the Attorney General in Delaware, 6 of which were spent as the state solicitor, the chief civil lawyer for the state. In that position, I supervised attorneys who provided legal advice and guidance to the State Board of Elections, and also the attorneys who assured that county and municipal officials followed the voter laws of the state and the federal government. While I'm not a Georgia lawyer, I do have an appreciation for the issues and concerns that face election officials. After listening to the candidates in the recent election discuss whether or not we should retain at-large voting or voting districts, the question we first have to answer is, what problem are we really trying to solve by making a change? While there were sound bites about not wanting federal government oversight on our elections or having one area of the city have more influence than another, no one has really come forth with any fact or example that shows that the current system of at-large voting has failed to provide voting opportunities for every citizen or has failed to represent the city's interest. It seems to me that we ought to ask, is something fundamentally not working? And if there isn't, then we ought to consider a change. But if this system works, why should we make a change when 73% of the cities in Georgia follow this exact same model? It makes common sense to me that in a city like St. Mary's, that we would want all our citizens to vote for all open positions at each voting cycle so that they can choose the best candidates for office rather than restricting a voter to having to vote for only one person running for council and essentially not have a say in what the composition of that council will be in the future. And in that regard, I think raising the specter of one man, one vote is misleading because whether you're voting at large or district, every person eligible to vote gets to vote. With respect to Representative Spencer's communications to the council, I would ask that he be mindful that state legislatures, once they create a municipality and grant a charter, great deference is given to the operation of that municipality. And if a city decides that it desires to have or retain an at-large system of voting, and there's no valid evidence to suggest that that system of voting is violative of the law, the proposal or a decision by the city to change or not to change should be honored, and the legislature should defer to that decision. I commend the council on its decision to hold hearings and fully vet this issue. We've had varied candidates for office of various political stripes and backgrounds. Council's commitment to fully vet this issue is important. We should be patient and give deference to the council to complete this, and while there will always be dissent in a free and open government, no citizen will be prejudiced when the process of government is free, fair, and open.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, okay. My name is Heidi Benz, and I live on 304 West St. Mary Street. I didn't come prepared with a speech, and so he could have my 10 minutes or 3 minutes that I have. I only want to piggyback on what Alex Kern had to say. I fully agree with what she had to say, and I just want my voice to be heard on that one. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, members of the council, and Representative Spencer.
You're going to have to pull that closer to you.
Hello. My name is Bill Bruce. I live at 304 Charleston Way in St. Mary's. My wife and I moved here. We retired here from Tennessee a little over 8 years ago. We love this city. We have grown to feel a real part of it. We like the water. We like the downtown. We particularly like the people and the friendships that we've made here. I have been involved in politics, and I'm a product of districts. I have run in 5 political races as a candidate. 4 of them I won in districts. 1 of them I lost, which was at large. Those were in Tennessee. They were for the state legislature, the House and Senate, and then at large for the U.S. Senate, which I lost. So I'm predisposed toward districts. But in looking at our particular situation here in St. Mary's, Georgia, I think there's some serious questions that need to be addressed. If we were a city of 100,000, it probably would make sense to think about districts. We're a city of 17,000. Our districts would run about 2,500 each in population, with large disparities, as has been pointed out, in registered voters and disparities in the number of precincts which would be voting in each one of these districts, causing confusion. That could be handled, though. But let me tell you what could not be handled easily, and that is the whole concept of how do districts get drawn. Districting and the drawing of districts from a political standpoint is probably the most contentious element in our system. If you don't believe that, look at the gridlock in the United States Congress, look at the problems which have arisen in this state and other states about how districts are to be drawn. And even when they are drawn with the intention to be fair and equitable, which was done with these districts, look at it. Look at the funny shapes. Look at the weird design that came out of a good faith effort to create good districts. Now, when you get into the area of politicizing and political payback and political maneuvering, you've got a serious problem. We can avoid that by sticking with the system we have right now, which is at large. Let me ask you this. Representative Spencer said, people feel that their voice is not heard. That's a serious question and a serious problem, and I would agree with it. If that's accurate, that needs to be addressed. Ask yourself this. Is there any situation in which you have gone to one of our council members with a problem, with a concern, or with a suggestion, and have felt that you have not gotten the kind of reception from him or her that you would have gotten if you had been talking to somebody who was your individual council person? Meanwhile, you are the constituent of all 6 council people, and they are obligated to listen to you as one of their constituents. And I apologize.
Can I give my 3 minutes to Mr. Bruce?
I think we need to. Thank you for the thought process, but we would like everyone to be heard first, and then you're certainly welcome to come back.
Anyone else?
Given the time.
While we're waiting for this gentleman to come up, let's rehearse this one time. Marty, give him that 33-year school teacher look, okay? But she gives you that look, okay?
Give him the red one. I want to see the red one.
I thought he was coming up to speak. Anyone else?
All right.
Yes, come ahead, Mr. Maurice. Is it okay?
Yeah, actually, whatever's most comfortable. If you want to look at us, you want to look at we certainly understand. I think it would probably be better to look at the audience. Thank you.
I basically am not going to give my opinion, but I would like to share.
Name and address?
Elaine Pawerski, 571 Cardinal Circle East. I'm going to avoid giving my opinion out of respect for the fact that I will be sitting up there in January, but I would like to share with you my observations. Because I have been going door to door and business to business for 2 months, I feel I have really talked to hundreds of citizens in the community. I have heard concerns from many of them, but I cannot find any concern that has been brought up that has been regionalized. It's more, the reason people have concerns is more for personal reasons or personal situations. For example, transportation was one of them, but it was throughout the entire city that it was a concern. Not feeling their voices heard somewhat, but once again, it was throughout the entire city. So I really feel that we have to look, if there's a problem, we have to really, really carefully look at what might be the cause of the problem. Otherwise, we might be putting in something, saying, okay, it's all fixed, goodbye, and it won't have fixed a darn thing. Thank you for your time.
I'll be quick. I'm Sherry Richter, 800 Seminole Avenue in St. Mary's. I just have to ask the question, what are the issues that are not being addressed? I voted not this election, but last election, for candidates who addressed my interests and addressed my interests in the way that I wanted them to respond to my interests. Some were prepared, some weren't. I voted for the ones who were prepared in their election as candidates to speak for me as a council member. So I'm not voting for a white person, a black person. I'm voting for someone who is knowledgeable in the areas that I have an interest in. So that's why I vote for these people. Thank you.
I'm Jim Burnham. I live at 513 Palmetto Street, and I've had a business in St. Mary's since 1978 on Osborne Road, and I love this city. I'm very, very concerned about keeping it a good city. I think it's one of the best places to live. I've wanted to live in this city since I was a kid, and so when I finished college, I came here. Mayor and council, thank you for taking the time to have this hearing, and especially want to thank the people that came out tonight, because as you know, we never have enough participation in the government. My most ardent concern is that we have fair elections. If you've been around long enough, you probably remember when I brought a lawsuit against the county government for not adhering to the districts that they had created and had been approved by the Justice Department, and then they suddenly realized that a couple of them would be running against each other, so they backed away from it, and I took action to force them into adopting those districts, and eventually both of those guys, I think, forgave me. It took a while. My interest here tonight is that each citizen have an equal voice in our government. I believe that districts would probably help address that. I don't know that it's going to get anybody else to the polls. I would like to think that it would. My other major concern is the tendency that we have to elect people from the same areas. I don't know why that is. Back here in the mid-90s when we were trying to make some changes, I was in favor of a district then when we went to the hybrid system that they talked about before. At that time, all but one city councilman lived in the downtown area. I thought that was a problem. I didn't live in the downtown area, but I never ran, so I don't know that it would have made any difference in that respect. But now I see that we still have a couple in the downtown area and the other four in another district. I would like to see if it doesn't inspire people to who know their neighbors, know their neighborhood, to go out and try to represent them better. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Diane Torgerson. I live at 1100 Dilworth Street in St. Mary's. And I guess my concern is that if everybody's vote counts, then everybody should have the opportunity to run for council office. And right now, I don't see that happening. I think the cost is part of the factor. You know, I think because we're not reaching out to some very talented people that live in our areas in St. Mary's and should be encouraged to run for office. We're not doing that as a group of folks. And so I agree with the gentleman that was just here. If districting would allow those individuals to step up to the plate and to be part of that talented pool to run for office, then that's what I would like to see, because I think there's a lot of folks in all diversities here in this community that would do an outstanding job on the council and don't have the opportunity at this point. Thank you.
When everyone who has spoken one time, when we're through with that, we will go round robin again, and time permitting, there will still be another 3 minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Hello, my name is Sidney Howell, 605 West Congress Street, and I'm for districts. Nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room, but Osprey Cove blocks votes. If Mr. Gant has somebody from Osprey Cove running against him, Osprey Cove will win because y'all vote. That's the way it is, and that's all I hear. And I've talked to thousands of people from here. We run around in different circles. We don't run in the same circle. Circles I hear, that's what it is. That's what's happening.
Thank you.
Mayor, Council, Representative Spencer. My name is Artie Jones Jr., and I live at 241 Fairways Edge Drive.
Jones, just you put the microphone up just a little bit.
Okay, is that better?
You stop talking now, start again.
Okay. If I do it lower, I can start again. Okay, I have been told by friends, relatives, family, and just people in general that lived here in St. Mary's all of their lives, will you represent us, or have you moved at Osprey and forgotten about what we are about here in St. Mary's? When I talk to the people in Osprey, which you know I live at Osprey, they say, you're part of us. Why do you hate us? And it's got nothing to do with hate. St. Mary's have always been a place of love. Even though we were segregated, we always loved one another, and it's genuine love. Let me ask a question first to the City Council. I know you said don't ask them any questions, but by a show of hands, how many of you know the name of the captain on the base? The name of the captain on the base. Okay. How many know by a show of hands where Camden County High School is on the region as far as football is concerned? Where are we? Okay, all right. What I'm saying is that a lot of times we seem to be out of touch with a lot of people that live in our own area. A lot of times the people that we're supposed to represent feel that they can't come to us for any help. And I know I can go to any one of these guys. I think they are all very competent, they're all very talented, and we have a great city council. But there needs to be some diversity. Look around you, look in this room, and how many minorities, how many black people do you have here besides the ones being paid? And every day I hear a lot of people saying, we want you to represent us. I said, well, follow me to some of these meetings. Let the people know how you feel. And they refuse to do it because they think that the people from Osprey is going to hate them as more than what they do now. And I said, there is no hate out there. We need to understand that St. Mary's, there are two St. Mary's. There are people, okay, I'm sorry. There are those that live in not just Osprey, but Shadow Lawn and the other areas, and then there are those that live at Cumberland, the Pines, and the lower income areas. And I think we need to do something to make sure that these people are represented.
Mr. Stein, this is for residents of St. Mary's.
Let me just make that clear. I represent a number of residents of St. Mary's. I represent a number of businesses of St. Mary's.
Understood.
And they have asked me to speak for them.
We will adjust.
They're denied the input that you said that they could have.
Mr. Stein,
That's your decision.
we will adjust based on the council considering the process here tonight, whether or not we will change that. But right now, it's very specific. This is for St. Mary's residents tonight.
Well, you can change it, but I'm not so sure that I'll be able to come at noon the next time, and I don't know that I'll be able to come to the next meeting. So I just want the record to show that you're denying those people to have a voice that they may not have at a later meeting.
Thank you for your opinion.
And that's not a very good system, and that's the very reason that you have the problem now, that people think that they're not getting representation.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
This is wrong, and you know it's wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Stein.
I represent those people, and they have a right to have their voice heard.
Please indicate to those citizens, Jim, that they can send a note. They can send a note to me. They can send a note to the city council. They can send a note to the city clerk. There's any number of ways that the citizens you're representing can contact us. I would implore you, please let them know that we want to hear their voice, and please have them contact us.
Do you really think that I should have to go to that problem and get all these people and say that you employed me and you asked me to do this, and now I can't do it? So do you think that's reasonable?
We have two more attempts to make it comments.
Moderator.
Thank you. All right, now, could we have the next person up, please?
Your comment, sir?
No, I just wondered whether the audience could be included in this. What's this man's name? Stein?
No, please. Ms. Howe, thank you very much.
Excuse me, sir. Hi, my name is Rindy Howell. I live at 605 West Conyers Street. And I kind of want to put a little positive spin on this. I know that we have a lot of people that are pro, a lot of people that are against, and some that are for. I want to say that I am for districting. I have been. I used to be the chairperson of the Camden County Watchdog, which represented a lot of people. 2011, we approached our senator at the time and our state representative, and we asked them about having districts in order to be well represented. Artie Jones was part of this at the time as well. We also talked to him about the districting so that everyone's voice could be heard. And the reason was because we felt like if we had one representative in our area, just say for instance, I had Mr. Nutter. I could knock on Mr. Nutter's door and I could call him and say, look, we need to take care of this. I knew that Mr. Nutter would care about it because he lived in that district. If we had an area, that was a blighted area and we wanted to take care of that, we could go to Mr. Nutter. And here's the positive spin. The positive spin is, if each one of these council members are elected to represent everybody, they're going to represent everybody, whether they're elected for that district or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's from their heart. What the lady was speaking about there, I feel like it is class warfare. There are people that cannot afford to sink out hundreds of thousands of dollars in a campaign, but there are people that can afford it. Now, who do you think is going to win? The person that can afford $200,000 to put their signs and billboards all over the place, or a person that can make a homemade sign? Any day, that person that puts that billboard out has that representation with all those funds is going to win the election, plain and simple. So we approached, and we have always tried to get these districts so that we could have one person that we could talk to, and that is the way that I feel. And like Sydney said, we can avoid the elephant in the room if you want to, but I feel like it is class warfare. And we are attacking the people that cannot afford to run, but yet they have the wisdom and they know the things that are going on in this town because they have seen it. My husband worked for 25 years at the mill before it shut down. You can't tell me that he doesn't know what's going on in the city. He loves St. Mary's. We wouldn't be here if he didn't love St. Mary's, trust me. We would be in Fernandina. We would be somewhere else. But anyway, I just want to say that is the reason that we started working and that we feel so strong on the district area, because we would like to have one representative that we can go to. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Yes, sir.
Speak. Mike Desmond, 100 St. James Place, St. Mary's. I'm opposed to districting. Somebody used the term shallow. We have a shallow community here as far as people that want to be involved in politics in any way, shape, or form. Good examples, Mr. Gant ran unopposed. That will happen again. It's happened in the past. Everybody seems very concerned about Osprey Cove right now, but 10 years ago, Osprey Cove didn't exist. It was downtown. 10 years from now, it'll be someplace new. We're a small community. We just don't have the people to go to districting. I don't agree with the last speaker who said people don't have an opportunity to run. They do have an opportunity to run. I come and listen to the forums. I read the newspapers right up from every candidate. I don't care what color or other aspect they are. If they're going to do a good job, I'll get that at the forums and I'll get that from their answer in the paper. We're too small of a town to have districting, period. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Candy DeLoe, 702 Cinnamon Fern Trail. Probably almost everybody out here knows I live in Osprey Cove. And I'm very sorry that a vendetta against Osprey Cove has brought this about in our city. It's a shame that we all can't work together on stuff and don't see the value. Look at the people we would lose up here with those districts. They look like, I first made a note, they were gerrymandered to eliminate a lot of people that are up there. When you've got 3 of them that would be in one district that doesn't even have anything to do with Osprey. But now the maps were made up sooner than that. I think this is an issue that should be decided in St. Mary's. It should have started here. It shouldn't start at the state level. I think it's a shame that the state has the power like this. But my main thought tonight is it's a real shame that, again, this has become such an issue, Osprey Cove, against everybody else.
Next. Yeah, yes, sir.
I can't let that happen. Bill DeLoe, 702 Cinnamon Fern Trail. I can only echo what my wife said. We don't agree on a lot of things, I got to tell you, about politics, but she's right. You know something, you look at this, in this city, 17,000 people. I live in a city of 50,000 people. We had districts and we had at large. It worked well, but it worked well because of the size. Like Mr. Bruce said, you've got to have the city's got to mature. District 6, if you look at this, the way this thing is set up, District 6, makes no sense whatsoever. You've got Cumberland Harbor, you've got the downtown, part of Shadowlawn, you've got these things here. Cumberland Harbor is going to grow. This is going to be the area that's going to grow. You already have 2,200 people there. You'll have 1,100 people in another district. There is no balance in this. And having been on the council for 8 years and mayor for 4 years, I can tell you one thing. People called me and I never failed to answer them. And I know one thing. One vote makes a difference, folks. We had an absolute tie. Right, Artie? You were on that tie. I remember that. And I'd like to see us have minority representation. I truly would. I think it's very important. Let's find a way to do it. And really, you know, fought for plurality. Okay, plurality is the wrong way to go, wrong way to go. Well, I'm sorry. That was going to be your best opportunity to get minorities in here. So, I mean, I don't think this district is showing anything except to go out and say, let's see how we can get Osprey Cove out. Let's take their power away. You know, fine. 10 years from now, it's not going to be Osprey Cove, it's going to be someone else. Don't make changes because you want to get a group out. Make changes because of the best for the entire community. This does not make any sense to me. I can't see it, and I kind of resent the way it was started, to tell you the truth, but thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next.
Anyone who's not previously spoken?
Yes, sir.
So we have people who've not spoken, they come first, then we'll consider the round robin.
Yeah, my name is Frank Morsey. I live at 1050 Green Willow Drive in St. Mary's. Lived there for 10 years or so. And yeah, the mayor is my brother. I'll get that out right now. We lived here long enough to see 3 city councils. I can't remember one of those councils where it wasn't diverse with a mixture of Osprey Cove, some downtown people, whatever. Sydney, Roland Eskridge, Greg Bird. I can't remember one. So I guess thinking about that a little bit and not really preparing any remarks, we've had the diversity on councils that's needed. I've also know that they've always been accessible. Whether it's this council sitting behind me, previous council, they were all accessible. You could talk to anyone about anything. I sure hate to see that go away. So I guess in wrapping up, I just say I don't believe that large has failed us, and all the city councils that I've been aware of since I've lived here have all been accessible to all the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Anyone who's not previously spoken?
Okay.
First call. Anyone who's not previously spoken? Second call? Speak now? Okay. Open to second comers for 100 minutes. 3 minutes. Anyone who wants to speak, and also anyone who decides to speak, but now we will accept both.
I just wanted to clear up one thing. The thing is, you know, I hope we don't kill a messenger. The second thing is, when I was asked about this, I asked our representative, you know, and a lot of things he and I disagree on. And I asked him if he had a map, something that we could go to the city council with to get their participation, because I know that it had to have the full support of the city council in order that it wouldn't go to a referendum, because I wanted to save money. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to get the city council involved, so that you don't have the people at Cumberland Harbor running against the people from downtown St. Mary's. That map is just a map to get started with. It's nothing that the city council and the mayor can't straighten out and form any fashion that they want to. We only want to make sure that we have districts, that we have people running from the area that they live in, and a less crowded area, a less populated area, area where they don't have to spend as much money. And I will guarantee you, in some of these low-income areas, the voting strength will more than double.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I started off tonight, Alex Kearns, 902 Ann Street, St. Mary's, Georgia. I started off tonight by saying we were all too familiar with the ridiculous Osprey versus downtown versus others disease that poisons this town. And in my opinion, district voting would surely be the final blow that kills the patient. I'm more than ever convinced of that after listening to this tonight. We keep hearing everyone should have a voice, everyone should have a chance to run. As far as I can tell, everyone does. We've also heard that money will guarantee a win in an election. We just had a case where one candidate was heavily outspent by the other candidate, and the outspending candidate did not, in fact, win. The one thing I don't understand with all of this Osprey bashing, instead of saying, here's a group that is really involved, or an area of the city where people seem to be really involved, where they're willing to step up and take the slings and arrows that is St. Mary's politics, instead of praising them, we condemn them. But where are the candidates from the other areas? In what way would district voting help that at all? The way this city is, Sydney said, we don't run in the same circles. Again, the divisiveness. All that district voting would do would be to preclude good and worthy candidates from running. It's really sad. I mean, the whole fracturing of the town over made-up borders or made-up resentments is just really sad.
I'm still Jay Moreno from 501 Victoria Circle. I'd just like to say that I've seen so many red herrings thrown around here this evening. My God, you could feed a Danish family reunion. The latest one, and one of my favorites, is the one that going to districts would cause fewer people to have an interest in qualifying and running. That is just patently absurd. I mean, if you apply a little logic to it, you'll see that it's just idiotic to assert that. 10 nights ago, I was one of the candidates at the Candidates Forum, the Eagles area-hosted Candidates Forum. Without a doubt, my favorite moment of that night was when Roland Eskridge took part of his closing 2 minutes to ask the question, let me see a show of hands of how many of you here present tonight have already voted. And it was very dispositive. And I think that would be very handy for the gentleman and lady behind me to know just how many of you came here tonight already unalterably opposed to considering going to districts and unalterably in favor of maintaining the status quo. And before you raise your hands, if you will, on the outside chance that I am in fact a mafia don under the witness protection program, I'll turn around and close my eyes while you all, if you will, raise your hands and show how many of you are unalterably for it.
I don't think the audience wants to do that, Mr.
Well, that's up to them. And then my final comment is, if there's such an objection to having Representative Spencer drop the bill into the hopper, which I'm not too crazy about myself, although he will inevitably do it, and I'll support him when he does, I too would much rather have had us request that he do it. We can still do that. It's very simple. All we have to do is at the next city council meeting, if one councilman will raise their hand and make the motion that we have a referendum that we request and initiate, then we can settle the issue. It's going to cost the same exact amount of money for a referendum, whether we do it that way or whether Representative Spencer has to drop it in the hopper. So if everybody is so confident that the current system is so wonderful and that there's no opposition to it in the city, and that, you know, we're all in favor of kumbaya and making s'mores together, God forbid we should have divisiveness, then let's go ahead and put it to a vote, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. How about some others here? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Cindy Walters. I live at 5. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going to have to get very close.
I'm usually too loud. Hi, I live at St. Mary's, 513 Palmetto Street.
And what was your name, ma'am?
Cindy Walters.
No.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
There's a reason for that. We'll start.
Okay, I live at 513.
Name?
Cindy Walters. I live at 513 Palmetto Street, St. Mary's, Georgia. I'm a registered voter. I was in a service. I was born and raised here, went away in service, 14 and a half years in the service. I'm a disabled vet. I believe in pride and ownership. If you're from a district and you represent and live in that district, you don't fight like crazy to help people in that district. If you're not living in that district, you could care less about the people. Some of the people, like my mother lives on 3rd Street, has never got their water down. There's city water. It was voted in by the council and everything, but they never received it. And there's a lot of people that are bitter and hurt about it. And there is a lot of distinction between Opry Cove and other people. Yes, they have the money to do it if they want to. They're nice people. There's no bitterness between them, and we're not casting stones at them. I'm just saying where you live is where you give. And if we elect people in districts, they may fight better for that district in St. Mary's to improve it and not neglect it. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Jane Canning. I live at 410 Point Vita Place. When we bought our second home here in 1985,
Jane, get a little bit closer to the microphone.
we bought our second home here in 1985. We bought it in the county because I did not want to get involved in St. Mary's politics anymore. Because years ago it used to be really bad. Well, I got in the county and it had to be districts. And at the time we had Mr. Hawes as our district representative. Getting a hold of him was like finding an elephant in the backyard. He was never around. And when you did talk to him, he didn't listen to you. But districts, I do not believe in. I just believe that you should vote openly for who you want. But St. Mary's is at the best it's ever been. Everybody keeps talking about Osprey. Well, if the people don't belong to Osprey, get up and do something about it. Don't sit down and not come out and vote. And I just don't understand why there's so much animosity to them. I know I talk to a lot of people and the animosity's there. I don't know if it's jealousy or what it is. But the thing is, if we don't live in Osprey, you have to get out and vote. You have to get the people who don't live there to get out and vote. And that's a hard thing to do.
Okay, I think Mr. Howell started first, but please, if you want to queue up over here.
I'm Sidney Howell. I still live in 605 West Conner Street, St. Mary's, Georgia. And one of the reasons people don't turn out to vote, they said Osprey's going to win it anyway. That's what I hear time and time again, you know. I've been to your round table, and I've seen the way it works. It's for Osprey people. And I'd like, Mr. Tom, I'd like to know who's on that committee that you've got to help draw this up. I'd like to see the names, because I sure wasn't. I've been a councilwoman 4 years, and I've been involved, and I just don't know who they are. I'd like to see.
You're invited to our next meeting. Please send me an email, and I'll tell you when that is. You can meet the people yourself, and you can participate.
Okay, let's say, I think Mr. White.
I'm sorry, yes. I apologize, sir.
Sorry about that. Bear with us for a minute. Okay, thank you.
Larry White, 102 Sylvia's Court. There's one thing that I do have to agree with Mr. Marino on the point he did make. We should not leave it up to the city council or our representative to determine whether we have districts or not. I think it should be a referendum vote in the next general election in the city of St. Mary's. Let the citizens of St. Mary's decide that. And from what I've seen here tonight, and what I've heard people talking about, and who is here tonight, I have no doubt whatsoever that districts will be voted down in that election. Okay, we're going to stay at large because the apathy of the citizens of this city is so bad. They're so apathetic. There's very few of us that ever show up at all the city council meetings. I can see half of this audience, less than half of this audience, that ever shows up at the city council meetings and knows what's going on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and ladies and gentlemen. I'm still Bill Bruce at 304 Charleston Way in St. Mary's. Just 3 quick points, and I appreciate the time, and I know everybody would like to go home now. Number one, in addition to the other problems of how districts are created and the political wrangling that can go on in that, it also brings in the federal courts. If we have districts, we are under supervision, can be under supervision of a federal judge if there's a lawsuit that says, oh no, these districts are not drawn exactly right, and a court could end up redrawing them or directing that they be redrawn. We avoid that if we have at-large districts. That's just one of the advantages. I was very encouraged last year in the election of one of the council people who was a minority and who came within, I believe, 4 votes of winning. I don't believe in the city of St. Mary's that we have a problem in terms of any attempt to exclude minority participation. In our adjoining city of Kingsland, we have a black mayor, and he's doing an excellent job, and I think there's overall enthusiasm for him and acceptance. Final point is, in our last election, day before yesterday, we had a referendum on districts. In one of the races, the sole issue that I saw raised was, candidate A is for districts, candidate B is against districts. Candidate A, by the entire city of St. Mary's at large, was elected allegedly against districts, and for whatever it may be worth, that was, I think, some indication of what a referendum would show if we wanted to go to the expense of having one. I personally appreciate having 6 individuals that represent me and are responsive to me, while at the same time represent the best interests of the entire city of St. Mary's. We have a good system, it works well, and I hope if it ain't broke, we don't try to fix it and foul it up. Thank you.
Yes,
sir. My name is Dave Southern, and I live at 277 Osprey Circle. That's in Osprey Cove, and I am not going to apologize for living in Osprey Cove. And I personally resent the implications that there's funny business because Osprey Cove happens to have people who are involved in the entire community. And as for the remark that was made about the Camden Roundtable, everybody in this town is asked to be part of that group. That group is absolutely nonpartisan. We go to great lengths to keep it nonpartisan. The purpose of that group is to put real information, the truth of the matter of all kinds of issues in front of the voters of St. Mary's so they can be an informed voter. And informed voters vote. They vote at a higher rate than people who sit on the sidelines and feed off of each other and complain about things that in many cases aren't even real. So take that and forget about it, because those are invalid points. As far as minorities, I believe that L.J. Williams is a minority. I believe that Gerald Roberts is a minority. Those are people who have served on this council. So, and to Bill Bruce's earlier remark about the minority candidate in last year's election, the minority candidate lived in Osprey Cove and was defeated by somebody outside of Osprey Cove. There's too many people that rely on rumors and agitation. We have worked very hard over the last several years to get rid of the animosity that seemed to always prevail in this city. And it was destructive, and it was distracting, and it prevented us from moving ahead. We're on the cusp in this town right now. If you came to the round table and you heard all about spaceport and the other things that are going on in our community, you would know that we're on the cusp of it. I'd hate to see this thing, which is totally unnecessary, destroy the progress that we've made over the last couple of years.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Kathy White from 102 Sylvia's Court, St. Mary's. The point is that if districts would provide a single representative, I happen to live in an area where my representative's family and one that was running for office would have been representing me, of which I do not ever feel like I've been represented anyway. So I would not feel like I could go to them for anything. But having 6 people that I can go to, if I did not like somebody, I could go to someone else. So I like having the ability to go to 6 different people than being stuck with somebody that has been put in place with a narrow-mindedness that these people have had. Thank you.
Anybody else? Please be making your way up to the on deck to the side. You're next.
All right, well, we'll keep Mr. Smith next. Okay. Yes, sir.
Dave Schmitz, 112 New Hammock Circle in Shadowlawn. I guess by virtue of geography, we're lumped in with a lot of my good friends from Osprey Cove. But that notwithstanding, sorry, start again. My name's Dave Schmitz. I live at 112 New Hammock Circle in St. Mary's. That's also in Shadowlawn, and that's right next to Osprey Cove. And so we're probably lumped in with the hate mongers just because of geography. The only reason I came up here, and it's moot, but I can't stand it, Bob Nutter is not for districts. Bob Nutter is willing to listen to what's going on at this meeting and the next 2 meetings, and listen to his constituents throughout the city and represent what it is that they want. Eliminate Bob Nutter from the city council and Bob Nutter's for districts and I'm not is the sole product of one person's imagination. Thank you.
Mr. Goodman, please come up. I think possibly 3 more people, Mr. Smith and 2 more, and then you're the clock keeper. Okay.
Good. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, and Representative Spencer, I came tonight with 4 pages of notes, and I can tell you every note I made has been sufficiently addressed by previous speakers. Excuse me.
Did you give your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Charlie Smith. I live at 310 West St. Mary Street. I'm known by some as Downtown Charlie. Okay. Thank you. Let me just summarize a couple points that have been very eloquently made earlier by other speakers. Today we have 6 seats on our city council plus a mayor. This means that every citizen of St. Mary's, without regard to residence, has access to 6 advocates who are responsible for addressing constituent concerns, whatever those concerns might be. By comparison, the proposed district system would reduce my access as a citizen to just one person, my district representative, who may or may not agree with my grievance. The new proposal would ultimately, inevitably, pit district against district. In my opinion, elected officials whose primary loyalty is to the voters of a small geographic area will never be as effective as a person whose primary loyalty is to the entire city. So I ask you, which is better, 6 advocates or 1? Now let me ask you again, what's more important, competence or residency? As St. Mary's and indeed all of South Georgia struggles to recover from the closing of the Gilman plant as well as our Great Recession of 2008, the role and work of local elected officials becomes increasingly more complex and complicated. The persons we elect as city councilors today must possess the knowledge, wisdom, and professional experience needed to address the complex and difficult problems we face today if we expect to rise above our current malaise. When done right, being an elected official is hard work. Make no mistake, competence is vastly more important than residence in qualifying a person to run for council. And I'll skip this point. On the issue of diversity, I'd like to offer this perspective. Recolonizing African American voters in a district of their own is another example of what I call a plantation mentality. Make no mistake, our African American community in St. Mary's enjoys a rich reputation for its core values and outstanding leadership qualities. There's no shortage of qualified leaders in the African American community who could serve with distinction on our city council. We would benefit greatly from their service, but encouraging leaders to run for city council is a hard sell. It's difficult for whites or blacks to make the commitment and the sacrifice required to serve on city council. Time is up? Yeah. Okay. We simply must attract competent community leaders to run for office. Leaders everyone can be proud of, not because of tokenism, but because of competency. Thank you.
There will be one additional speaker. Get on deck if you will, please.
My name is Lorna Gant. My husband Jim and I live at 808 Devon Drive in St. Mary's and have for 30-some years. I am absolutely appalled when I hear people get up and complain about the people of Osprey Cove, the problems at Osprey Cove. Let me tell you something. It's not where you live, it's how you live and how you treat your neighbors. And please keep that in mind.
Yes, sir.
Jim Burnham, Palmetto Street, been up here before. I just wanted to say that I don't believe that there is any animosity towards Osprey Cove. I know there's certainly not on my part. I am envious of the fact that they do get together and have a strong, united voice, but we can do that anywhere. But if you're thinking that districts are going to cause animosity, why are we having this animosity now? I don't think districts are going to make that any worse. I also heard someone say that St. Mary's is the best it's ever been. I came here in 1977. That was before the base got here. St. Mary's was a wonderful place then. I saw the growth that Kings Bay brought, and it became a better place. Never in my life would I believe when I came here 40 years ago that Kingsland, Georgia would be a better place to have a business than St. Mary's, but it is. And I don't know the districts are going to fix that either, but I just wanted to make that perfectly clear that I do not believe that St. Mary's is the best it's ever been, nor the best that it can be, and I'd like to see it better. I still believe that districts are the way to go. The best way to find out if it is or not is to have the referendum. I agree that perhaps Mr. Spencer may have gone to the city council and asked city council if they had wanted him to bring forth a map. But Mr. Spencer is also responsive to his electorate. And apparently somebody went to him and asked him to do that. I'm glad he did. Redistricting is the most political thing about politics. That's not my quote, that's somebody else's quote. I would tell you who, but I don't remember who it is right now. It was in 1992, the county into 3 different sections. We would have had one district that went from St. Mary's all the way to the other side of the swamp. We would have had one district that would have gone all the way up. There's a cohesive and right way of doing districts and a wrong way. And that was definitely the wrong way, but that was really the one thing that got me most involved in politics in Camden County. Because as I say, I love this county. I want the best for it. I want the best for this city. The city council could go and have this map adjusted. They could look at different things if they wanted to. The House Reapportionment Office does a wonderful job. It's amazing what they can do with maps now. But I don't think it's going to have a negative impact if we do have an election to see if people like districts. It may not pass. I would vote for it, but it's not going to hurt us to have that on the next referendum. Not a special vote, not a special election that costs us extra money, but the next general election. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Burnham. I'd like to remind you that the next meeting for this purpose will be Tuesday, November 18th at the Winding River Subdivision, Savannah Clubhouse at 1:30 p.m. and then a subsequent meeting and final meeting Thursday, December 4th at 5:30 p.m. at the new Senior Center on Davis Street, back over here. I want to thank you for your participation tonight. I want to remind you that you can still fill out this form. You have contact information for the mayor and council. Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. And so obviously, before you all leave, the expressed thank you from the council here to everyone that came tonight, shared your opinion, or sat down and listened. Thank you to Mr. Representative Spencer for coming. Thank you to the school system and Dr. Wooden for letting us use this. We will take back and assess and learn how to do this better for the next sessions and be better interactive and probably better timekeepers also. I think we'll work on that process, but I think that was productive for us. I hope you found it worthwhile that the council is trying to listen and try and understand what the path forward should be. And I wish you all a good night and thank you again for coming.